Hi there, I'm Deanna Byrne, and thank you for joining me for episode 3 of Chasing Sunsets. This one is called Through a Daughter's Eyes. When I met my late husband, my daughter was only 6 years old, and he took her under his wing and became her dad. She grew up having two pretty amazing dads. She was very lucky. Her and Terry were very close, but also very stubborn, and it was a rocky road at best sometimes. When he started with kidney failure in 2014 and subsequently ended up on dialysis in 2017, I never realized the impact that all of that was having on our two kids. He had a son, I had a daughter, and we became a blended family. And he never got to the transplant list. As much as he tried to get through the testing, there was always something that got in the way. In January of 2020, he died of a brain aneurysm unrelated to his kidney disease. It was a sudden death that we were completely unprepared for. He was one test away from getting on the donor list. So for us as a family, it was a huge, huge loss, and we were not prepared for it. I subsequently went into deep grief and wasn't able to give my kids anything that they needed to help them with their grief. November 2020, my daughter did a blog post on her social media, and I asked her if I could have permission to share that because it was so profound of the way she explained the process and how it affects people that are going through a situation where they have a family member that is suffering. It doesn't necessarily just have to be kidney disease. It can be any kind of a medical condition that is placing a lot of emotional strain and pressure on a family. Her blog post, her Facebook post went like this. Apparently, there were two jokes in a recent episode of Saved by the Bell that joked about Selena Gomez's kidney transplant. If you're unaware of this, due to her struggle with lupus, Selena underwent a kidney transplant to quite literally keep her alive. The jokes were as follows. Small skit, where two girls argue over who actually donated the kidney. It was tasteless and inherently ignorant to those who put their lives at risk to donate their kidney. Referencing Selena's situation where her friend selflessly donated a kidney. Spray-painted wall behind a dialogue scene that said, "Does Selena Gomez even have a kidney?" Now, if you never watched someone you love completely deteriorate from kidney disease, I suppose to some extent I can try to empathize with your ignorance, except I just don't want to, and here's why. There is a unit in the QE2 hospital for hemodialysis. The QE2 hospital is located in Halifax, Nova Scotia. There is a room full of rocking chairs and beds and machines where patients come in numerous days a week and have their body connected to a machine that filtrates their blood for hours. You cannot get up. You cannot eat. You have to stay in your chair until your treatment is over. There is a line connected to a main artery, and you need to be properly disconnected and reconnected prior to continuing your treatment. This was quite literally Selena Gomez's soon-to-be reality without a kidney transplant. Your life expectancy on dialysis is 4 to 5 years. There are different types of dialysis treatments. However, not all of them work for you. The need for organs for transplantation is much greater than the available supply. I will add to this that after she wrote this, a law came into effect in Nova Scotia in January 2021 on the 1-year anniversary of Terry's death, actually, making organ donation an opt-in, not an opt-out, an opt-out, not an opt-in. It was a huge step forward for people who are waiting for organs. In 2018, 4,300 Canadians were on a waiting list for a transplant. Of those, 78% were waiting for a kidney. Wait times can range from a few months to several years. Kidney statistics. Please refer to my point above. Dialysis only works on average 4 to 5 years. Do the math. Canadians are dying. My stepfather was one of them. He never made it to the list. Here is my experience for the humor I ensured during this time. Climbing into our dog's bed the day his kidneys finally failed, and I cried so hard that I didn't know how to breathe. Or about the days that I had to quite literally push doctors to get him on a machine because his oxygen was at 70 and our hospitals don't have enough units to house every single dialysis patient. Or about the time I helped him make his bed and he was so weak that his hands were shaking and he tried really hard to not let me notice. The chats that I will forever cherish while driving him to his treatments. My mom and I would take turns some weeks because he was scheduled for 3 full days every week. Praying so hard to a God I didn't know or believe in, begging for this to all go away. Slowly disappearing from social gatherings, my friends and family, because literally nobody understood the type of exhaustion that I was feeling. Hearing him say, "I'm tired," and me having to hold back any fear that I had and say, "Keep fighting." Or about the night that he lost his fight, and I sat beside him, watching him slip in and out of consciousness. I'm not sharing my sob story for sympathy. This is quite literally the opposite. I am sharing this because there is a massive disconnect between health and illness, and this messaging, delivered through a show for teenagers, further creates that divide and ignorance in regards to the seriousness of this issue. Life and death are not topics for writers to poke fun at. My daughter went to Humber Film School in Toronto and realized on her 3rd year that that wasn't the industry for her. She's a very old soul, and she absorbed that pain and grief at a very deep level. And the day that I read her post, it was as if somebody had kicked me in the stomach, because I had no idea how much our children internalize these kinds of things. However, they are also able to walk with grace forward. If you've lost a family member and you have children working through that process, whether they're young or whether they're young adults or whether they're older, they are processing. And by supporting them and allowing their light to become brighter every single day, that is the best that we can do. We can hold each other up in those times. I felt that this was a very important blog post to record because even still today, there is a disconnect between people and illness. We have a severe healthcare crisis in Nova Scotia, and the only people that are screaming to have it fixed are the ones living in it, seeing what is broken behind the facade of walls. People are disconnected until they need it. They are disconnected until they are watching a loved member, a loved one's life gently flow away with the last breath. They are disconnected until it happens to them. What we need to do is stand up and understand that it takes a village to move forward. People are suffering from other things other than just kidney disease. Cancers, heart, so many neurological. There are so many things happening. And people are disconnected from that. I recorded this post in hopes that at some point you will feel it. You will feel the kind of pain that a family member feels when someone they love is going through something like that. But also to fully understand and also feel that if you have lost or you're going to lose someone, that every day is one step forward to walking out of the pits of hell, otherwise known as grief. And you will. And you will get stronger every single day. I am so blessed to have 3 incredible adult children that are still with me. We miss him dearly, but I see pieces of him in them every single day. And when I read what my daughter posted in November 2020, it kicked me in the stomach, but it also gave me such an incredible sense of pride that she grew up to be the most astounding and amazing young woman that she has. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode.